Hi everyone, it's Muneeza. It's Tuesday afternoon, 3 o'clock. It's our time for a Facebook Live. I'm so excited to speak with you all today. Um, as always, I'm answering your questions. Covering a certain topic. So today's topic is going to be healing from a viral reaction. And by that, I don't mean that, oh, you've had Epstein-Barr since you were, a little child, and so learning how to heal from that, but really a more acute viral reaction, something that's like flaring up that might be new, how to really deal with it, because it happens a lot to people, and we just don't know how to differentiate that. So it's a little bit rainy today, and I have my shawl on, and if you're coming on here, say hello. I'd love to hear from you. Miley says hi. So today I have this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous crystal. It's amethyst. It's one of my favorite types of crystals. I found this up in Massachusetts a few years ago, and it's just this, it's not big and it's not really grand in any way, but it's the energy that this thing has. I remember when I saw it, I'm like, ooh, I really want that. And it was amongst a whole array of crystals. And so this one really spoke to me. I love her. And she sits with me at my desk when I'm working. I use a lot of crystals. So, that's kind of fun to do, work with them. So many people here. Melanie Yates, hi. Terry, hi, honey. Misty, Morgan, Nancy Morgan, Christina, Barbara, Taryn, Michelle, and Jason. Hi, you guys. Hey, Allie and Jason from Gibraltar. Thank you for tuning in. That's so awesome. So, Shelly, hi, from Nova Scotia. Awesome. Alina, hi. How are you guys doing? Gosh, so many faces here I haven't seen in a while. It's so good to connect with you. I love doing these lives. I love hanging out. My job, I talk on the phone for like 6 or 7 hours a day to people. And my family always says to me that like, you have some capacity to just talk. I'm like, I love talking to people, especially when it's about my favorite topics, health, wellness, healing. And, if I'm able to help people, then, oh my gosh, even more. Like, I just absolutely love talking on these topics. I could talk for hours and hours and hours. So I love coming on the lives because it's a different way to connect with people. And I actually get to see your little picture, so I kind of know what you look like. That's also fun too, because I never get to see the people I work with. Unless I met you at a live event or we knew each other before I started this work. Sue, hi, how are you? Kyra, hello, good afternoon to you too. Pam, hi. And you talk so well on these topics. Well, Pam, it's only like 4 or 5 years of practice of doing it every day. So I like to think that I got some of that down. Jeannie, hi. Jeannie, Larissa, hi. You guys are awesome. This is so great to connect. If you tuned in just recently, I was showing everyone this crystal that I've been really reconnecting with. I found her a while ago. And hi, Lori. And, I really, 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 I love her. She sort of adds this really grounded depth to my little desk here, and I sit with her right here sometimes, right on the side sometimes, and it's a lot of fun to bring crystal energies in. I love them, and they work really beautifully and really well. Hi, Gianna. How's it going? So today I wanted to talk about healing from a viral reaction because I think that a lot of us, hi, Jill, how are you? We can have long-term reactions, right? So you can have, things that you've had for chronically for decades. Kelly Jo Leach, hi. And you've had since you were a baby or since you were a teenager, and you've been dealing with those viral issues for so long. Now, not everybody is able to, you can deal with those issues long-term. Those are really great. Hi, Manpreet. And I think we all have a great sense of how to deal with that issue when it shows up in a chronic way. Anthony has outlined that a lot in his books and things like that. But, when you have an acute problem that shows up, so viral issues can be acute too, even herpetic ones. Like mono is a viral issue that's acute. It's not something that's showing up over a long period of time. It shows up acutely. So what would you do, for example, if you had an acute issue like that? How would you nix it? And he says in his book, for example, that healing Epstein-Barr at that stage of mono is actually one of the easiest ways to deal with it. You can completely put the virus in remission. Imagine if we all knew that at the time we had mono, right? So we've all had viral issues, and if you had mono at a certain time, if you knew how to deal with it then, it'd be great. And I'm sharing this with you because I know a lot of you have children, and a lot of you may see a viral reaction showing up in your children. So what do you do to nix that? Also, many of us have acute shingles reactions that we see pop up in our, in our life and this journey through healing. So I get people who come to me and they feel really disappointed because they got shingles. And I'm like, well, you probably already had it. It was just dormant. But what do you do in those situations? So you always want to look at upping, you want to up the basics. Remember, I talk about the basics. So people have asked me a lot, what are the basic remedies that would work? And so the basic ones are zinc, silver, B12, lysine, cat's claw, and ester C, or like a vitamin C. And that's really crucial to be aware of what those basics are, because you want to push up all the basics when you're dealing with a viral condition that's acute. I mean, you could do it if you have a flare of an older condition, you can even up them then, but it's tricky to know exactly when to do it. But I'm sharing that because it's really a big thing to be able to know what to do. And then if you have a shingles flare, again, all those basics should be pushed up to higher dosages. Again, work with your individual practitioners on knowing what those are, dosages for you. And otherwise, you could always dose with the dose that's on the back of the bottle. So it's important to be aware of that. With children, it's always really important to dose according to their weight. So if you have a child who's 4 years old, but it's a heavier child who's taller and heavier than an average child, you can give them more than you could give somebody who was a really skinny, small 4-year-old or 5-year-old. Does that make sense? So always pay attention to that when you're working with children. And with shingles, hi, Mary Frances. With shingles, it's also important to up those baselines and then up the ones that really, are important. Like with shingles, there's a lot of pain. So understanding what, bringing in the magnesiums, the 2 different kinds for pain, and bringing in alpha lipoic acid is really important. So you want to be able to do antivirals in higher quantities. I know that dosages is something I never really discuss, and I'm not really wanting to go there, but I want to just share, you've got to up them. You've really got to get up on understanding what the dosages are that are recommended on the bottle. And then you yourself, if you're not working with a practitioner, then go slow if you want to up them. If you are working with a practitioner, then ask the practitioner to help you understand what a higher dose would be that would work for you. So it's really important to understand how to heal, that you can really quickly address an acute issue. So acute issues, why do they happen? They can happen because hi, Robinson David. How are you? Acute issues can happen because you're exposed to a toxin. They can happen, because you were exposed to mold, for example. And acute issues can happen because you have a flu infection, like a viral flu, and it triggered something else. So it can happen because your immune system can become depressed, a little lower, so it's working a little harder, and or you were exposed to a toxin. So for example, for me, recently, as you all probably know or have heard me talking about, I was bitten by a spider. And then a lot of you don't know this yet, but about a month ago, I was stung by a bee in the same arm, and I'm really allergic to bees because of the viral reaction that I have from bee stings. So I was dealing with an acute viral reaction, and acute viral reactions can happen. They're real. Even you can even get an acute viral reaction from a poison ivy exposure or a nettle leaf exposure. Stinging nettle leaf actually stings you. So if it starts to create a rash on the skin, your immune system is going out there expending energy to help support that reaction, and so it's pulling away from other things. And because of the depression of that immune system or the exposure to another toxin, you can have a viral reaction show up. So I know that some of you probably feel like, oh my God, what the heck? But it's true that this happens. It's a real thing. It doesn't happen to everybody, and it doesn't happen all the time. But if, God forbid, it happened to you or somebody you know how to immediately address it until you can get help. Like really start to up some of the supplements that you're taking for those things. And if you want more specific supplements, then obviously contact somebody, ask for an emergency appointment. If you're having an acute viral reaction, that is a valid emergency appointment. If you're having an acute viral reaction to exposure to something, then you really do need to come in to see somebody much sooner so that you can get help and you can deal with the acute viral reaction. Now, acute viral reactions can happen. They look like just more symptoms of a chronic viral reaction. They can usually be accompanied by fevers, but it's not a flu, right? It's not a cold. It's not like you got a stomach bug. It's not that kind of infection. Sometimes, even with your chronic long-term infections like mono or ABV or shingles, you can have fevers show up. So I know a lot of you don't usually experience that, but if you were exposed to something that's super toxic, you could have that reaction show up. And I know the first thing that people do is freak out, and take a deep breath that you don't have to freak out if that's going on for you. Okay, so I hope that I sort of gave you a little bit of an outline. And when you're having an acute viral reaction, you want to immediately clean up the diet, meaning like drink liquids only, or eat fruit only, or just do, liquids and water, keep it really simple, or just teas, and you just keep it super simple. The less you eat when you're having an acute viral reaction, the sooner that you're going to overcome it. All right, so lots more people coming on here who I missed. So there's Chrissy and Terry and Amy and Sandy and Robin. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Okay, so Barbara, I know you asked me a question about your health. I don't do readings here. I don't read people here, but I do answer, questions about health, general questions, that kind of thing. So those are all welcome. So Gianna says, is it safe to take a compounded antihistamine, non-antacid, or will that feed the virus in any way? I have mast cell activation disorder and need to take something. I don't want to inhibit the progress that I've made. So it really depends, Gianna, what you have going on and what are the ingredients of the product that you're choosing to take. And if it's been compounded, you can ask for it to be compounded without preservatives and without any other gunky stuff. So it's just got the active ingredient in it. But sometimes you need to add inactive ingredients. So the other thing to always watch out for when you're dealing with herbs or supplements or drugs even is to find out what's the active ingredient, how much of it is there, and also to find out how much of the inactive ingredients there are. Because often the things that make it not great for you are the inactive ingredients. So, you can have fillers, you can have soy, you can have wheat, you can have coloring, you can have yeast, you can have MSG, you can have all kinds of things that are not labeled as such, but are ingredients that contribute or are those things that I just talked about that are not labeled as such. So it's really important for you to check that. Plus also, histamine reactions, according to Anthony, are usually rooted in strep. So whatever you're doing to take care of your strep will also reduce the histamine reaction, which will help you with your MCAD. All right, so I hope that that was helpful. Sandhya, hi Sandhya, and she says, what causes varicose veins? It runs in my family. So you know what? One of the things that Anthony talks about that we inherit from our family members is heavy metals. He talks about that a lot. But we also inherit clogged livers from our family members. So, you know, often when you say, oh, my mother had the same issue as I do, or my father had the same issue as I do, usually more it's the mother because we live in our mothers for 9 months. But we can definitely inherit things from our fathers too. So clogged livers are the cause of varicose veins. Really congested livers, clogged livers, sluggish livers, slow, stagnant livers are all contributing to that. It's because your blood becomes super thick and it has a hard time passing through capillaries, and that's what causes varicose veins. And so when you say it runs in your family, it's because it's probably been inherited from an ancestor, from like a great-grandparent and grandparents, or even further back. And, you know, we've been dealing with a lot of non-optimum, less than optimum conditions for our inner organs for a long time. So by the time we come down to our generation and then our children's generation, the imbalances show up really quickly and really young, way more young than they've ever shown up before. So Kristen McCarthy, you asked if someone could type up the basics in this thread. I recommend that you go back and listen to it because it's going to be recorded and it's going to be on my page for you to go back and reference at any time. Chrissy says, I would love to hear about what I need to get well. Well, if you can ask me a specific question, I can respond to that, but I cannot give you a general reading here. Terry says, hi, Muneeza, dealing with shingles, rash, flare-up, no blisters, heavy itching, wrists going chest and behind my knees. So have you brought in all the necessary supplements that support a shingles flare? It's in Anthony's book in the shingles chapter. So if you open that up, I don't know if you're working with someone or if you're trying to figure this out on your own. If you're trying to figure this out on your own, then I really, really recommend that you go to the book. This is page 147. And you see the supplements for shingles are listed in order of importance from most important to least important. Okay, so the first most important, what do you see there? Everyone forgets this one. It's ALA. You know, when I work with people who have shingles, nobody remembers to bring ALA in. Very few people remember to bring that one in. They focus on a lot of the other supplements. So that's the most important one. Then there's magnesium. There's 2 kinds of magnesium Anthony recommends. He recommends Neuromag, which is magnesium L-threonate, and he recommends magnesium glycinate. So you want to think about, you know, bringing some of those in. He talks about MSM, depending on how bad the nerves are flared up. B12, of course, and that's a baseline, but it's in there specifically for shingles because it's really supportive. And then omegas. So these are all non-antiviral things. These are all nerve supportive things. So we have to remember, like, what is the, like with EBV, I think a lot of us tend to focus on what's antiviral. And then support the adrenals and support the thyroid and support the liver. And with shingles, you have to support the nerves because that's the only place shingles hits the nerves. When you have pain and itching and burning and rashes, it's all shingles. It's all nerves. It's not attacking any other organ. Sometimes shingles can get into the brain and then it can attack directly there. But usually, like if you have vaginal shingles, it's on the pudendum nerve. If you've got headaches and pain here on the scalp, it's usually the trigeminal nerves. If you've got gut issues, it's usually the vagus nerve. You know, you can have breathing issues, neurological breathing issues that can be because it's on the phrenic nerves that go into the chest. So it's all different ones. And you have to focus on a balance between what's antiviral and what's attacking the nerves and how to support the nerves. So if the nerves are supported, then you don't have as many symptoms, you don't feel as bad, and it's easier to recover. But if your nerves are not supported and you're just doing antivirals, sometimes that's not enough. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Sandy says, is all mold toxic? Black mold is, yes, all black mold is toxic. But if you have, you know, the kind of mold that grows greeny, white, fuzzy stuff on your fruits and vegetables in the fridge, that's not as toxic. I mean, if you think about it, all fermented foods have that mold in it because it's from decaying food. You know, kombucha is from decaying black tea with sugar, and kefir is decaying coconut water, and or water kefir. It's the same thing. Or you know, yogurt, or you know, not tofu, but I'm forgetting the other one, the soy tempeh, which is fermented. And then you have a whole bunch of other fermented foods that, you know, sauerkraut, kimchi, all of them are fermented. And so they start that process, and it's not to the point where you can see the mold, otherwise people wouldn't eat it, but it really is the beginning of that process, is getting all moldy. So that mold isn't super toxic, but it's not something our bodies want, and it will poop it out. But yes, black seeps through the seams around the bathtub, that's toxic mold. And if you want to know what Anthony says about helping with that, listen to his show on healing from mold toxicity. And he has that radio show on Hay House Radio. A lot of free episodes are available on SoundCloud as well. So check that out. Sorry, this phone is ringing. Let me turn it off. And so he talks about 4 essential oils that help with that. So he talks about thyme, rosemary, sage, and bergamot. And he talks about really diffusing them in that space over time, every day, like every 2-3 days, switch it out to a different oil. Don't blend them. He says don't blend them all together. He says to use them one by one and to diffuse them out, and slowly that it will heal that mold that's in the wall or behind the scenes that you cannot see. But you can also scrub down with those essential oils in your bathtub so you start to wipe it out. And that is a very helpful trick. Robin Schrock, what's the best water to drink when you're unable to use a Berkey? Spring water, distilled RO, or artisan? So Anthony has recommended Fiji water in the past, which is artisan water, which if you're walking through an airport, that's easily available in most airports, so you can get that one. Spring water is definitely the first choice if you can find it. Try to find it not bottled in plastic, because plastics all contain dioxin. Dioxins cause cancer. You know, they're combined with a virus. Dioxins cause cancer. So really staying away from plastics is a really good idea. I cover this all in my Greening Your Home webinar. If you have not seen that or caught that, if you go to the top of my Facebook page, it says shop now, and you can go to the link and purchase that. But it's really important about keeping things that combine. You know, if you heard Anthony's webinar on cancer, or if you heard him talking about, it's going to be in the new book, and 2 things he brings up, even in his newsletter recently, he had a newsletter about this, and he talked about how cancer is not caused by just one thing. It's not just a poison, or it's not just a virus. It's actually a combination. You need 2 things. You need a virus, and you need a toxin, and those 2 combined can create that, can create a cancer cell. So it's really important to not do the plastic as much as possible. Berkey has a travel filter, which is really great. It's like an on-the-go little like thing. It has a filter inside, and you can fill up water from anywhere, and it will clean it out, and you can drink that. Like if you're walking through an airport, you can have an empty Berkey bottle, and you can go into the water dispensers, like water fountains, and you press on it. You can fill up your Berkey filter, on-the-go filter, and you can drink that water too. So there's different options. So if you want to buy a bottle of spring water, or you want to buy a bottle of water that's still in plastic, you can get your Berkey filter, run that water through the Berkey filter so that it removes more toxins, and so you have cleaner water. But I think that really we shouldn't be compromising on our water as much as we can. We want to carry a filter with us. And thank God there are on-the-go filters available that we can carry with us that we can use for those purposes. So really important. Check that out. I hope that makes sense, Robin. But yeah, as clean water as you can get. You know, if distilled is all you have distilled. Distilled has nothing in it. If RO is all you have RO. Then that's fine. But you always want to find the best water possible for yourself. Carla says, is it safe to take xylitol and erythritol? Some of them have corn bases, so no, I wouldn't recommend them. And then for that reason, they can give people stomach aches. But if you had a little bit once in a while, I think you might get away with it, but I definitely wouldn't make it a big part of your diet. Chrissy, hi. Amy, hi. Susan, hello. Sally says hello. Alex, hi. Amy, hi. How are you? Melanie says, zinc, silver, B12, ester C, cat's claw, the basics. I might have missed one. Lysine. Michelle says, what can I do about low blood pressure? You know, there's different things that can help with low blood pressure. One of them would be to make sure that you're getting enough mineral salts in your diet. And enough mineral salts will push up your blood pressure a little bit naturally. Another herb or supplement, which isn't really taken for increasing blood pressure, but is licorice root. So if you're really low and it's dangerously low, you can up it a little bit with that, but I would start with a tea, right? Chrissy says, so you work closely with Anthony. Well, I mean, I mentored with Anthony for years. He's not available anymore, really, but I definitely learned everything I've learned from him. Gianna says, no preservatives, soy, wheat, anything like that, just active and microcrystalline. To clarify, would the active ingredient ever feed a virus, though? I've been doing strep, especially SIBO and EBV protocols. I would have to know more about it to answer that question. Unfortunately, I can't answer that, just not knowing enough about what you're actually taking. So you might want to email our office if that's the case. Selma says, is it safe to give a 2 or 3-year-old Sovereign Silver? It is, in a few drops. Sue says, I'm curious, can birth order affect how much of a clogged liver or metals you inherit from your parents and ancestors? Yes, it can. It can and it cannot. So sometimes as a firstborn, you inherit the most junk because you were the first, place where actually your mother's liver or organs started to detox into. But I have seen, a thirdborn have Down syndrome, for example, or a cognitive inherited disorder. And I've seen lastborns have them. So it really depends on the detox process of your mother, where she's at, what she's releasing at any given point, which is why I always say to mothers or women wanting to become mothers, please follow a preconception detox protocol, which I do with women, so that you can make your body as healthy and as strong as possible before you conceive, so your chances of dumping stuff into your baby are minimal, right? So it really can happen. Like, for example, you could have a toxin that's really not moved. And I'm talking about women who've done no medical medium stuff, right? So it's just the body's natural mechanism. Either they were exposed to something. So, for example, you have a pregnancy where a mother is exposed to heavy metals of some kind. Maybe she walked into a dentist's office, or, maybe she, went to the park and they just sprayed the wooden benches with arsenic. So it doesn't matter. She could pick up, have that exposure to that toxin. She wouldn't know about it. And maybe it doesn't process out into the first child, but maybe it would process out in the second or the third. If you're talking about just her in her body with no other exposure, keeping all things equal, then more likely, yes, the firstborn can get a whole dump of stuff. But if we detox in layers, so the other kids could get some stuff too. They just might get different stuff. I hope that answers your question. It's not an easy answer. Angie says, hello, is it a viral flare if you feel like you're coming down with the flu and then it goes away? It depends. You could be fighting the flu, and if it goes away, you could have fought the flu and been fine with it. Sometimes it feels like that, but it's really dependent on other symptoms. Sometimes it's not just you feel like you're coming down with the flu and then you're fine. It could be. I've seen that happen. But sometimes you could be just fighting off the flu and you're feeling a little down but don't have symptoms, which means you're pretty healthy, right? Liz says, hey, Liz, Robin East, is extreme hair loss from EBV. How can I stop hair loss? Extreme hair loss, according to Anthony, comes from too much adrenaline coming into your system, and it can be viral. It can be EBV, but it's usually too much adrenaline that knocks your hair out. Veronica Cole, hi. What can one do for uveitis, weight loss? So you want to follow an antiviral protocol. That is the most important thing for that. Are you already doing something, or would that be something that's new for you? I'm just wondering. So weight loss is important, but weight loss has really got to do with the liver. But so does uveitis. Uveitis is an eye disorder, right? So it's a lot of the symptoms of uveitis are from what Anthony says are Epstein-Barr viruses, viral debris that ends up in the eye. So weight loss is not exactly the option, but the things that you would do to lose weight would also heal your liver if you did them the right way. So yeah, but I wouldn't directly focus on weight loss. Amy says, my 4-year-old had a febrile seizure, age 2, and used to get bad fevers very easily. Now she's much better, will hallucinate very easily. Is this metal related? Amy, it can be metals and viral. So it's a combination. Make sure she's doing a heavy metal detox smoothie. As much of those ingredients you can get into her. Diane Nielsen. Hey, Diane. Dealing with dizziness when getting up and bending down. Any ideas what to do? That's from more having Epstein-Barr in the inner ear, the vestibular system. So more lysine could help. Moving slowly. You don't want to trigger it, so move slowly. That's super helpful. And just increase some of your antivirals. That might be super helpful too. So Amy says, how does an anxiety attack remain in a perpetual state without reprieve? Sometimes the heart is or isn't even elevated yet, and the attack is almost constant each day. This state can keep me in bed, unable to move around. It's a spiritual battle more than anything else. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that, Amy. That usually comes from heavy metals in the brain, according to Anthony. That you can have that happen, and it doesn't have to be a panic attack per se, but it's just this constant, like a blanket, like you're wearing this blanket of anxiety, and it comes from heavy metals, usually heavy metals and virals, but primarily the metals if it's that constant. With virals, sometimes if it's just virally induced, it's less constant, like it'll go up and down more, but it sounds like yours is related to more metals. Clara Goodman says, are cashews harmful due to their mold content? Sometimes they can be. Raw cashews can have something on them. That's why you want to soak them. You want to dehydrate them before you use them directly. But yes, always be careful with that with nuts and seeds. Even dates sometimes inside can have mold in them, which is not. So you want to be careful. Kaneen, hey, how are you? Melanie says, what causes edema? The liver. Sluggish liver causes edema. G. Terry Lee. Hi. Is monolaurin essential in EBV protocol? I'm already taking several supplements, so I don't know if it'll be helpful. It's not an essential one, but it can be helpful even if you took it for a few weeks or a few months. So it's not essential though. But it just depends where you are in the process. It's hard for me to tell you whether you should take it or not because I can't do that. But definitely check it out. Like if you want to buy one and take just a couple of tablets, there's no harm in trying that. if you can tolerate it. Amy says, I have all BPA-free, propylene-free water containers. Hope that works. That's definitely better, Amy, but it's still a form of plastic. So we just don't know what's able to get in there. Amanda Reed says, unable to join. I'm not sure what you mean, Amanda. Unable to join what? So I don't know if you guys know, but I have a homeopathic webinar this Sunday with one of my dearest friends. She's a homeopath. She's an incredible healer, and you guys should check it out. If you have not signed up already, you can do that. I will post the link. The link is up on my Facebook page on several places. So just if you scroll up and see homeopathic webinar, you should definitely go sign up for that. So it's a free webinar. You don't have to pay any money to join the webinar. Join the webinar to ask questions on the live call, because we will be taking questions. And I know a lot of you have a lot of questions about this topic, and it's a great topic because some people who, you know, there's some of you who are really sensitive to like herbs and supplements. And in those cases, you know, homeopathy can be a really good in-between step. So it's really, check it out, you know, see if you can join. If you cannot join me live, there will be a replay, so check that out. And there's more questions about plastics and dioxins. If you want to know more about this, the Greening Your Home webinar, the shop link is at the top of my Facebook page. Check that out. I'm just putting out a lot of material for you guys because I know how important it is that everyone wants the right information so that they can heal and they can help protect themselves and protect their loved ones. So the environmental piece is super important too. And it's what we're talking about. A lot of acute viral reactions. Today's topic is acute viral reactions come from poisons that end up in our environment and how to deal with them. So Melanie says, are structured water units okay? It depends what you use to structure the water, okay? Some are and some not so much. Like if structured water becomes too alkaline, I would not recommend that you have it. Amy says, is it true that peroxide in vinegar solution kills mold versus bleach? That's not what Anthony says. He says those 4 essential oils, sage, thyme, rosemary, and bergamot are the best ones for that. Ina says, hi Muneeza, thank you for helping me to sign up with you. New additions, besides everything else, I just found out that I have an abundance of deep-seated parasites that are taking over my organs, eating my food, nutrients, minerals, etc. So according to Anthony, did you listen to his parasite show, by the way? He says if you have a true parasite, something that he calls a true parasite, it will take you down. You will have high fevers, you'll be throwing up, you'll have diarrhea, your body will be trying to get it out as much as possible. So he does not classify most worms as parasites. Worms are worms, they're like their own bug. So we can live with worms. Many of us do. Should we get them out? Yeah, right. Just following a simple medical medium protocol will actually start to pull out a lot of worms. If you just started upping garlic in your diet, you'd start to pull a lot of them out. So usually they're not the root issue. They can be a small part of the issue, if ever really the issue. The issue is usually viral, bacterial, all the ones he talks about, right? In his book, he can talk about C. difficile, he talks about mycoplasma, he talks about CMV, and he talks about H. pylori, and he talks about strep, and he talks about all these other cofactors that can be problems, but he does not talk about worms as being a problem. So if you have like food poisoning, the bug that causes food poisoning is a parasite, because you will be throwing up and having a fever and like dysentery, diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, all of those things, those So I think the connection went off for a second. Terry Lee says, should we avoid tap water to wash organic produce? Yes, I would avoid tap water. Tap water is full of all kinds of toxins, including what people pee out. Like, so people pee out antibiotics, people pee out birth control, people pee out chemotherapy, and traces of that are in the water. I'm just saying. So you don't want to be washing with tap water, drinking tap water. If you have tap water, put it through a Berkey filter, and that will clean out 99.9% of all toxins, and then you're good. So Bally, hey Bally, how are you doing? Great to see you here again. What is the best vegetable fruit wash when cannot get organic? What are your thoughts on ear candling? Ear candling feels good, feels kind of warm and nice, but it doesn't really do anything. But with best fruit wash, I would say is just get some hydrogen peroxide and just do that. So Ina says, oops, there's more. Can MM and you help with that? Yes, Ina, we can help with that. Definitely. Definitely help with that. Bally says, I pray I can be a mother. I'm detoxing so much because that's my goal. Oh, Bally, I will hold that prayer for you. It's so good to hear your goals. Liz says, oh, this info is amazing. I'm so glad you like it. Cleos Gonzalez says, I'm puzzled on what is happening to me. If I get answers, please. I get flare-ups of anxiety and insomnia. Have you started following the medical medium protocols? So, Cleos, have you, I'm not sure how you found me. Did you find me through medical medium? If you did, have you read the book? He has a whole chapter on depression, which links to anxiety. It links to insomnia, is linked to heavy metals. So, there's a whole bunch of things in here. It's page 181 of the medical medium. Adrenal fatigue as well. Hit up that chapter and then eat those chapters. No, don't eat them. Absorb them. Don't eat them. But focus on the chapters, get the information, and start doing some cleansing, and hopefully that will help. But if you've already tried that and you need additional support, contact our office and we should be able to get you in for an appointment, okay? Amy says, I thought the mercury poisoning was the dry, brittle, major hair loss. No, honey, that's not what usually does it for most people. Melanie says, if I want my EBV numbers on my test results are active and high, what does this mean? Is the virus moving? No, it's growing. If it's high and active, then yeah, definitely in there. I would up some protocols if you're finding that your virus is active at the moment. Angie says, no flu, just body joint aches and pains like the flu. Then it goes away when I take supplements. Then that could be a viral flare for sure. William says, what's good for the third eye? Any foods that are good for opening intuition, like spirulina, like wild blueberries, like dulse. Those are really great foods for the third eye. And going raw is the best way to open up your third eye and your intuition. Ina says, or is it out of the area causing my SIBO, systemic candida, leaky gut, blah, blah, blah. Honey, Ina, all of that stuff is being caused by the viruses and the bacteria that I referred to earlier. Like SIBO is all strep. And systemic candida is usually not the problem. It's usually indicative of high strep, which you have, given that you have SIBO. Leaky gut, all this other stuff is related to viral issues. Have you read Anthony Williams' book? Because it's in here. All the answers that you're looking for are in here. So if you need additional help with it, contact our office. If you need, more help and you need to get to somebody faster, I can refer you to someone. But definitely can be helped through the MM protocols, 100%. We work with this kind of stuff all the time. Liz says, is clenching your teeth metal related? It can be metal related, but usually shingles related. So that's another important point. Myri says, good morning. Lovely to see you too, Myri. Hi. Betty says, some soy sauce replacement uses coconut amino. Is that a good option? It's better than the soy sauce, also fermented, but it's better. I wouldn't do it every day. I wouldn't do it. Keep it occasional and you should be fine with it. And so Amy says, how would one know if there was mold in dates? You'd have to open it and just see the seed. It's usually inside over there. Desiree says, what causes eye floaters and what can I do? Usually viral debris from Epstein-Barr, according to Anthony Williams, causes viral eye floaters. You have to clean up your liver, and that would be a very important one. Laura says, I have a rare autoimmune CREST syndrome scleroderma. So my thoughts are following a basic protocol, but if you really want specific help for something that's specific and rare, I would sign up for a consult, honey. My website is muneezaahmed.com/contact, and you can contact our office to get some help with that. But the protocols as they are laid out will definitely start to help you. Even doing a cleanse, going more raw, bringing in some of the baseline protocols. Go back and listen to the beginning of this live when I'm done with it, because I talked about baseline protocols. You want to bring those in. Nancy says, my husband has kidney stones. What would be something to help him dissolve them or release them from his kidney, his past two so far? So drinking more juice, like green juices, would be super helpful, but also cutting out all animal food. All animal food will help with that. And have you listened to his kidney show, Nancy? He did that like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I want to say. It's a really good show. So listen to that and see what he says, and have your husband listen to that so he can hear Anthony directly talking about what all this is. Cindy asks, oh wow, you guys have a lot of questions here. Hopefully I can get to them all before the hour is up. So I'm experiencing, hold on, let me see, where was I? Okay, Cindy, what causes migraines during and post-menstrual cycle? They're pulsating and can last a week on and off. So what happens, Cindy, is it's viral. It's usually because of Epstein-Barr. He has a chapter on the book on that, if you haven't read it already. I'm sure you have. But what happens during a period is that 80% of your body's energy and the amount that your immune system needs to function goes down to give you a period. And so that's why symptoms come up more when you have a period, because your immune system doesn't have the energy it normally has to support it. It's giving you a period, and that's why symptoms show up. And I would just up more of a viral protocol around that time. William says, how does soaking cashews remove mold? Personally, soaking nuts can remove a lot of what's on the surface of the nut. And if you want to soak them with a little hydrogen peroxide, you probably get rid of most of it. And then if you need dry nuts, you can dehydrate them to get them back to dry. But if you just need nuts to go into a recipe that's already asking for soaked nuts, you can just use that. Suzanne says, do you know Grandeur water? I do not, Suzanne. Amy says, how do you dilute those concentrated oils to clean germs and mold? You don't. You just put them in a diffuser. And if you want more information on that, Amy, listen to his show on mold, healing from mold toxicity and mold exposure. Klaus says, I'm experiencing anxiety and insomnia flare-ups every month. So Klaus, if you're wanting help, please reach out, muneezaahmed.com/contact, and ask for an appointment so we can set you up. Candace, hey Candace, I love you, Muneeza, and I'm so thankful for you. Oh, I love you too. Thank you for being here. It really warms my heart to know you guys are here. Amy says, I've only tap water option, period. I wash my produce in it and dry it off fast. So Amy, you could add some peroxide to it. Peroxide's really cheap. You go to the drugstore and it's like, for a small bottle, I think it's like $5 for a bottle. And you can use that, it's very effective. Gianna says, is it possible to detox from asbestos? And other antihistamine question was, would skullcap be another one to add to the regime? Yeah, it is possible to detox from asbestos. Antihistamine question, skullcap is helpful, but what Anthony recommends for histamine reactions is reishi, curcumin, and high doses of ester C or vitamin C. Ina C says, they're in Ecuador. I just saw him to see his mom. They're both not doing good at all. Yeah, just contact our office, Ina. Julie says, what do you recommend for migraine relief? A couple of things. Anthony recommends pears. I think he says pears are amazing for migraines. So you could juice like 6 to 8 pears a day, or like put them in a salad or put them in a smoothie. He has a migraine relief juice, which is, I share in my cleanse. Did you download the free 3-day juice cleanse? It's in there. Check it out. I've given you guys all this information just so that you have it, so you can use it. So it's got pears, arugula, celery, and ginger. It's a migraine healing juice. All those ingredients are really great for migraines. lots of hydration is super important as well. Roxana says, I react very strongly to spirulina, faster heartbeat and blood pressure, and even from a pinch. What else could I use to replace it for heavy metal detox? I'm also afraid to use dulse because of the iodine. Is it okay to use blueberries, barley, and banana for heavy metal? Is it also cucumber best to replace celery juice? So if you have an anaphylactic reaction to celery juice, then you can replace it with cucumber juice. Dulse, you don't have to worry about the iodine. Anthony receives this information from Spirit, and Spirit is here to help us heal and provide truth. So if there was something that would hurt people in it, he wouldn't recommend it at all. And the reason that people have reactions to things, it's not because it's hurting them, it's because it's having such a strong detox reaction that your body can't handle it. That's all. So if don't do the spirulina, if you're doing barley grass, that's fine. You don't have to replace it with anything, but I would definitely add in cilantro. A combination of barley grass and cilantro and the wild blueberries would be great if you can handle that. Tammy says, MD says, don't worry about EBV high numbers. They have no clue. This is true, Tammy. Melanie says, thank you. Laurie says, thank you. Angie says, is golden seal good for all shingles types? Some of them. It's good for some of them. It's not, you don't use it for all of them. Sometimes you need mullein, sometimes you need propolis, sometimes you need licorice root, sometimes you need olive leaf, sometimes you need lobelia. There's a lot of options. So it sort of depends on what you have going on. And intuitively, I would do that, as I read somebody. Amy says, are sprouted seeds as safe as, I'm not sure what you're saying, but sprouted seeds are usually quite safe to eat. Jody says, hi, Muneeza, I drink celery and cucumber juice every morning, HM detox smoothie. I'm still fighting to stay awake around 3. Any suggestions? What are you doing for your adrenals? Are you eating every 90 minutes? Are you eating the adrenal healing snacks that Anthony talks about? I would really, really recommend that you do that. Really get on top of that. Mike says, how can you cure a ringworm that comes back every month? Mike, I would have to know more about what you're doing and your protocols. I'd do a little bit of a deeper reading there. I can't do that here. But I would definitely bring in some garlic, more garlic into your diet every day. That would definitely be the first thing that would help. But if you'd like to know more, then definitely sign up for a session. Amy, I don't have a ratio for the oils. I just use them directly with a little bit of water and just put them on. And sometimes I just put it directly on. I don't even dilute it. So he didn't provide one. So we just figured that out on our own. So Suzanne says, we have a groundwater system in our house. It changes the water to spring water. So Suzanne, I don't know how it works. I've known nothing about it. All I know is that the only true spring water comes out of the earth. And just like the earth grows trees and fruit trees and vegetables for us, it can create spring water for us. I'm not sure if a man-made system would be able to replicate that. But, I think any kind of filtration is a good step if you're getting some toxins out. The one Anthony and Spirit recommend is Berkey to get as like 99.9% of toxins out, including fluoride, which most filters cannot do. Anastasia, hey. Habime says, is healing from anaphylactic food reactions the same as food sensitivities? No, it's not quite the same. It's a little different. Anastasia says, I love my dream painting behind you. Yeah, I didn't even realize it was there until you actually pointed it out. Danielle says, hi, lovely, what causes shin splints? Shin splints also can be viral and pressure on that part of the body that's causing that problem. So that's what can do that. Roxanne says, thank you. Ina says, how do I get your number? So muneezaahmed.com/contact is the best way to contact us. All right, so Danielle says, what causes silver-like vertical marks on the nails? Is this metals pushing out? It can be. It can be. Rosa says, does the Berkey portable water filter our fluoride? Yes, I think it does. I'm not sure, but they have, go on their website and check it out. They're one of the best filters that exists. So I like it for pouring into spring water or other water that can filter out the plastics, but it doesn't have fluoride to begin with. I think with a bigger Berkey filter, you have to order special fluoride filters, but they do filter it out. Most filters don't. What is the cause of light-threatening food allergies? A lot of pathogens, bacterial and viral in the background that can cause that. Eva says, hello from Sweden. Hi, Eva from Sweden. It's good to see you here. Rekha Galan, your thoughts on coral calcium? Yeah, Anthony does not recommend oral calcium supplements, really. He prefers that we get our calcium from our foods, which is loaded with calcium, like our greens are loaded with calcium. So he talks about that. Mary says, thank you. You're much appreciated. You're welcome. Terry says, what is the youngest a baby can start on banana milk formula? At birth, Terry, if they need to. Hopefully they don't need to, but at birth, yeah. Michelle Romick says, what causes insomnia? Different things, but usually metals. High loads of heavy metals can cause insomnia. But it's different kinds of insomnia, right? So some people just don't sleep an hour a night and barely get that hour of sleep. And some people call it insomnia. They can get 8 hours, but then they wake up in between and they're up for a while and they can go back to sleep. And that's more, it can be more viral, but like the kind that you just cannot fall asleep at all. I mean, it's usually a combination of viral and metal, but the kind where you just cannot fall asleep at all, is usually just lots of heavy metals. Are steam dates healthy? And if so, does steaming kill mold? I wouldn't steam dates because then you take away most of the benefit of the dates, which is in their raw form. And a lot of dates don't have mold. It's, once in a while you'll find something that's always just good to check. That's not common. That's because they were exposed to something that had mold in it, and they don't grow with mold at all. Amy says, thanks so much. It's great to hear you. My first live in the UK. Great. It's so good to hear. Like, I've got people from Gibraltar and the UK and Sweden. I know some of you are some other places in the world, but it's just so good to. From Myri was from New Zealand and someone from Australia. Anastasia, yes, you've been there. Insomnia was horrible as I was detoxing metals. It's true. Danielle says, is ancient Kemet okay? Anthony's never talked about it, so I can't speak to that, but he only talks about quinoa or millet being the only grains he recommends that you can eat if you absolutely need to. All right, so we just got through a whole bunch of questions here. Oh my goodness. Please forgive me if I did not answer your question. It's because I didn't see it. Because sometimes Facebook doesn't show me all the questions that show up here, so I try to answer as many as I answer every single one that shows up on my screen. So if I didn't see your question, and the reason it didn't get answered is because I didn't see it. So I'm really sorry if I didn't answer your question, but please join me for the next live. We're doing one next week, and we'll be doing a few more lives coming up as we start to, so we've got exciting things coming up. Homeopathic webinar this Sunday. You haven't signed up, sign up. It's going to be amazing. I'll post the link again, but if you scroll up my Facebook feed, it's right there to sign up with. If you're not on my email list, I'm going to be emailing you guys about the homeopathic webinar this week. Look out for that. And we have a cleanse starting in fall. I'm going to be launching a bigger, sort of a semi-membership program right after that. So, you have the option to join both. And I'm going to be, and as always, there's the Greening Your Home webinar, which so many of you have been wanting and asking for. So it's up there on my site. If you want to know more about how to get poisons out of your kitchen and your environment so that you're living a cleaner life, so that you're not getting triggered by toxins or that your viruses are not getting triggered, please check it out. It's the shop link up on my page. And I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I love answering your questions. You guys are amazing. Have a beautiful rest of your day.